Hi, and welcome back to our series of lessons on the parts of speech. My name is Ganesh, and this lesson is all about pronouns. Now, pronouns are a huge topic. There are many different types of pronouns, and there are a lot of grammar points relating to pronouns. So in this lesson, we're going to focus on the most important types of pronouns and on how to avoid common mistakes that people make with them. We will start by talking about personal pronouns, then we'll move on to reflexive pronouns, and then we'll look at indefinite pronouns, and finally we'll turn to interrogative pronouns. Now, if these names sound scary, don't worry. By the end of this lesson, you will understand all of them and you'll know how to use them correctly. Before we begin, just remember, if you have any questions at all, just let me know in the comments section below and I'll talk to you there. Okay, so first of all, what is a pronoun? A pronoun is a word that replaces a noun in a sentence. Replaces means it takes the place of a noun. For example, consider these sentences. Corey works with Paige. Corey likes working with Paige. Corey and Paige do many projects together. Of course, that sounds very repetitive because we keep saying Corey and Paige. So can you tell me how you would improve this sentence? Well, you can say, he likes working with her. They do many projects together. That sounds much more natural because we're using the pronouns he, her, and they in the place of nouns. And that type of pronoun, pronouns that talk about people, are called personal pronouns because they refer to persons, even though the pronoun it is considered a personal pronoun. Now, personal pronouns come in three types: subject, object, and possessive pronouns. A subject pronoun is used in the place of a subject in a sentence. For example, in this sentence, I saw Lily yesterday. Here, which is the pronoun? The pronoun is I, and it's a subject pronoun because I do the action. And you can replace that with any other subject pronoun. You can say, we saw Lily yesterday, or he saw Lily yesterday, etc. An object pronoun is used in the object position in a sentence. For example, Lily saw them yesterday. Here, them is an object pronoun, and you could use any other object pronoun in that place. So what do possessive pronouns do? Possessive pronouns show possession. That means they show that you have something. For example, if I said, this is our house, the pronoun our shows that this house belongs to me and my family, for example. I could also say, this house is ours. That means the same thing. Now, all of these, the whole group of personal pronouns, are actually very simple, and I'm sure you use them correctly most of the time. But there are two areas where people commonly make mistakes with them. The first is in using the pronouns I and me. Of course, those are the simplest, but those are also where a very common error occurs. And that is when combining I or me with another noun or a pronoun. For example, we know that Corey and Paige work together. But let's say that Corey wants to say this sentence. I have four options on the screen, and I would like you to tell me which is the correct way to say it. I and Paige work together. Paige and I work together. Me and Paige work together, or Paige and me work together. Which is correct? Well, here we need a subject pronoun, so we cannot use me. Between the first two options, the first option is grammatically correct, but the best way to say this is Paige and I work together. That is because when you put the other person first, it's more respectful, and in English, it's considered more polite. So Paige and I work together is the best way. Now, instead of Paige, you could use any noun. It could even be a plural noun, like the children and I are going to the park, or my friends and I are at the movies, for example. It could even be another pronoun like you and I. Here's another example. The boss gave the project to Corey and Paige. Now let's say that Paige wants to say it this time. On the screen again, there are the 4 options. Only one of them is correct, and I want you to tell me which is right. Pause the video if you want, think about it, and then play the video again and check. Okay, here we want to use an object pronoun because the noun and pronoun are in the object position, so we need to use me. And once again, the right way to say it is the boss gave the project to Corey and me. We want to put the other person first. The common error in both of these types of sentences is to use one of the other forms. It's very common for students to make that error, so please avoid doing that. Okay, that's one type of mistake. Another type of mistake that students commonly make with personal pronouns is when writing the pronouns ours, yours, and theirs. Remember, I said this house is ours. I could also say this house is yours or this house is theirs. In all of these pronouns, there is no apostrophe before the S. A very common mistake is to put an apostrophe there, and that makes your sentence look ungrammatical and unprofessional if you're writing in a formal situation. So make sure to avoid that error. All right, so those are the 2 errors with personal pronouns. Let's now move on and talk about reflexive pronouns. Reflexive pronouns are pronouns like myself, yourself, himself, etc. And these are called reflexive because they reflect back to the subject of the sentence. For example, this morning I stood in front of a mirror. What did I see in the mirror? I saw myself. In that sentence, notice that the subject and the object are both the same, I or me. And to show that relationship, we use the ending self. I saw myself. Let me give you another example. I have a friend who likes to think very deeply about things. And when he thinks, he likes to get up and walk around the room and talk. Except he doesn't talk to other people. He talks to himself. Again, the subject and the object are the same person. So where do people make mistakes with these? Well, take a look at these 4 sentences that you have on the screen. Some of these sentences are wrong, and I want you to tell me which sentences are wrong. Stop the video if you want, read the sentences, think about which are wrong, and then play the video again and check. Okay, actually I tricked you a little bit with that one. All of these sentences are actually wrong. That's because the words ourself, themself, theirselves, or his self are not real words. They don't exist in English. But many people still use those forms. So the correct way to say these sentences would be to say, we're going to paint the house by ourselves. Students who cheat on exams cheat themselves. My sisters themselves don't recognize me now after all these years. And Jordan bought himself a present for his birthday. Now, the pronouns that you see on the screen are the only reflexive pronouns in English. There are no other reflexive pronouns. So it's a good idea for you to memorize these so that you don't use any wrong forms. So that's one mistake that's very common with reflexive pronouns. The second kind of mistake has to do with myself. Not me, but the pronoun myself. Now take a look at these sentences. Joey and myself are going to give a presentation at the meeting. For more information, please feel free to write to myself anytime. Now you might even hear a native speaker say these types of sentences, but both of these are actually wrong. Can you say why they're wrong? They're wrong because if you look at them carefully, the subject and the object in these sentences are not the same. When I said, I saw myself in the mirror, the subject and the object were the same. But in these two sentences, that's not the case. So here, you have to remove myself and replace it with the correct subject or object pronoun. So in the first sentence, you have to say, Joey and I are going to give a presentation at the meeting. And what about in the second sentence? For more information, please feel free to write to me at any time. It's that simple. So remember to only use myself